common questions that I get from people about Drunken Fist. I kind of compiled a few and I got a great email with some the other day. So I thought rather than writing a whole bunch and sending it only to one person, I'd make a quick video. So questions about Drunken Boxing. Number one, what was the real story of how Drunken was created? I heard that there was a northern and a southern style, but the monks didn't drink alcohol, so what's up? Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think anybody really knows what's up. There's lots of different legendary stories. I've heard a bunch. The story that I heard was the whole monk who was basically getting himself in trouble, and he was going to have to leave the temple. So he decided to get blasted. They had some wine there for whatever reason, or he went into town perhaps, and came back, and when he was saying goodbye to his brothers, they decided to scrap, and his kung fu was good. So this ended up being a kind of a breakthrough, an accidental breakthrough. So he kind of got a pass and got to hang around in the monastery to work on this new thing that he sort of stumbled upon. Pardon the pun. I don't know if that's true. I really don't. My opinion is that what really happened, most likely, they were simply looking at archetypal things. That's it. The Shaolin Temple is famous for using animals, right? And the animals that were on that mountain and the animals that they would be around were the things that they began to emulate in body and mind and in spirit. Well, the big animal around us all is humans. And there's drunks everywhere. So if you want to see a human being, think about it. You want to see a human being without any of their normal social contracts, right? Is somebody really drunk? If you saw somebody really drunk and violent, you would see somebody who is stronger than you would suspect they would be, has less cares, gives no cares in the world about who he hurts or why or whatever, right? So that is very animalistic behavior. It's not cognitive behavior, right? It's just another animal. So that's one way to look at it. So I think that's what happened, is that somebody, because they were all Buddhists, started looking at the fact that the human animal had to be examined. All right. Northern and a southern style, yeah. The southern style is what Jackie Chan learned, as far as I know. He does, I believe he learned 8 Drunken Immortals, the 8 Drunken Immortals style. The one I do has the Immortals in it, but is not an 8 Drunken Immortals style. The one I do is a Shaolin derivative system that came through a family in the area around Shaolin Temple. And I don't know much more than that. Let's take a look here. Oh, we're talking about one of my students who went into a competition. We'll talk about that in a second. How, when, and who taught you the style? Why did you have your student go into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition when other Kung Fu styles would have shied at the time? Yeah, okay. 2 questions. How, when, and who? I ended up learning that weird Shaolin derivative style in Alberta, northern Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, kind of middle of Alberta, basically by luck. I had left my first teacher. I was looking for a new one. And quite literally, my second teacher's demonstration, he had done a demonstration. I had missed it just by a few minutes. And there were some pamphlets laying around. That's all there was to it. So I figured, let's check this place out. Ended up down there. And I've been training very close to 10 years, I'd say. Yeah, probably. And I ended up, knocking on the door, coming down, and then I spent the next 3 hours being demolished by every student in the place. So when I went, that would be like 1990, let me think, 1994 or 95. Probably 95. Why did I have a student go into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition when other Kung Fu styles would have shied away? Okay. Well, it was I don't think it was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. I'm pretty sure it was like an MMA competition, they called it. Because it was like all the MMA kind of rules. You weren't allowed to fish with people, etc. But it was just fighting. But not full contact. Because it was a public event kind of a thing. Anyway, why did I have him go in there? Why not? The only thing that you can absolutely secure in a tournament match is learning something. Unless you're an idiot and you can't learn from losing. So there's no problem. My student understood that and wanted to try it out. He had never been in a fight in his life. never been hit. Like, nothing in the schoolyard, nothing at all. So that was the first time he's ever crossed hands with anybody. And he'd been training a long time, and he wanted to just see what it was like. That's why he went in. It was a personal journey. And as far as I'm concerned, every student should fight in a tournament once. At least once. I mean, if they have a taste for it, then they probably should do it less. But if they really want to get somewhere, they should at least for once go in there and try it. Because win or lose, you're going to learn something. Either you have to learn some compassion and graciousness as a winner, or you got to learn to suck it up and take your beating. Because there's always something to learn from it, right? Anyway, other Kung Fu guys might have shied away. I just don't care. That's on them. If they can't fight with their Kung Fu, that's not my problem. Were there schools that taught this art by itself? Is it the 80 Mortals or some other form? Or I kind of answered that already. Not that I know of any, but nobody taught this by itself. As far as I know, nobody teaches Drunken by itself. I mean, even the Drunken I know is a part of another system, right? I can teach it on its own, but it's not like originally that way. Why is the style surrounded by mystery? Well, that's a good one. Did the art of Kung Fu and exotic forms start to fade away in the 90s with the rise of the first UFC fights? Interesting. Well, style surrounded by mystery? No idea. There's some legitimate, quote-unquote, places you can look up where Drunken Fist is mentioned. The Shaolin Hand Combat Classic. Yeah, it's from the 1600s mentions it. And there's another one I was just thinking about. Maybe it'll come back to me. Anyway, there's a couple of old references to it. But why is it a mystery? Oh yeah, one of the 10 Tigers of Canton. That's who I was thinking about. The Beggar Sue. Probably considered the meanest of the 10 Tigers. He was a southern drunken guy. Why was he a mystery? Well, because he was a jerk. So nobody wanted to train with him. Did it start to fade away in the 90s? I don't think. I mean, in the public eye maybe. Kung Fu's never going anywhere. Because it doesn't have to do with winning competitions. It really doesn't. However, Kung Fu people really do need to win some competitions. Like, absolutely. Absolutely. It would be good for us, but the thing is, it would be better for each individual person to go and take their beating so that they have a good idea of where their training is missing things. I mean, that's what I did. The reason I've been beaten up so many times, right, is I was trying to figure out what I did wrong. Do I have any DVDs or teach online? I used to have DVDs. Now, some of my students and I are actually making a online program called Drunken Boxer Online, and it's going to be hosted right now. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook group that you can join, Drunken Boxer Online, and it's free. We started it actually during the pandemic at the very early days as a way to try to help out, because Kung Fu guys, there's not much we can do, but we figured we might be able to distract people from their stress and such if we just started teaching openly. Number 7, it says, where do you see the art of the Drunken Fist going? Can Drunken Fist be updated to deal with the violence of today, or do you see it staying with the traditions and history? That's cool. All right. Where do I see it going? The same place it's always been, which is being dead. Nobody knows it anyway. I've been around the world twice in the last 4 years, and I do not miss opportunities to hunt out martial arts teachers and martial arts masters. It's what I do, right? And I've met a few drunken boxers. I have. Drunken masters, in fact. And there's always going to be a few. Just like there's always going to be a few of anything, anywhere. Drunken Fist isn't going anywhere. It'll never die. It's just that it's very rarely taught properly anyway. The only thing that exists in the mainstream is the wushu stuff, which is really cool gymnastics, but it has no heart. It doesn't have any fangs, so it'll just end up traveling around the background in the bigger systems the way it always has, right? Bigger systems in the old days were bigger clans, but what's a bigger system today other than something that's unpopular, nobody thinks really exists? All right. Do I think it has to do something dramatic? Oh, just a sec here. Can it be updated to deal with the violence of today, or do you see it staying with traditions and history? Do you think that Drunken Fist has to do something dramatic in the ring to make people refocus on it? All right. Nobody has to refocus on it. I mean, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if lots of people wanted to take my courses and come to my workshops and come and train, and I would make tons of cash, and that'd be really cool. But do I want people to refocus on drunken boxing? No, it's not for everybody. It just certainly isn't. It's just like saying that no martial art's right for every single personality. No teacher in any martial art is ready for any single personality. No style of martial art is ready for any personality. So when it comes to drunken means that if you're really ready to learn it, it means you've done some martial arts. And by some, I mean like a decade. So you don't suck, right? You got things together. And then you go to some weird person whom you've never trained with before from some weird lineage, and they try to break your martial arts. And they break it down so that you can understand where your limits lie. Not your martial arts limits, your limits. And by pushing your limits, you start getting better at what art it was you started with in the first place. But drunken boxing is meant to be a mirror of what you really do. That's what it's for. It's to break down your first system, your first style, right? The love of your life. Just so that you have a paradigm shift when you look at it again. I just never came back from the other side, I guess. Anything else in this particular one? I don't think so. Yes, I guess I should probably be smart. Oh, there's another one. How many forms are in your version of the Drunken Fist, and are there weapons? Yeah, technically there's one form, but it's really, really long, like a Tai Chi form, like super long and way too long to do in one piece. So we break it into 4, and we teach it in 4 pieces usually. There's weapons. There's a couple of different weapons. The most important of those weapons is the Guandao, which is General Guan's knife, the great big heavy thing. Because it actually is about teaching your body how to follow momentum, rather than your body throwing something big and heavy and terrifying around you. All right. Well, I thought this might be useful to anybody who's kind of into the whole drunken boxing thing. Hopefully it answers a few questions. I get these kinds of questions pretty often, so we'll talk to you again. Drunken Boxer Online is the new Facebook group. Come check it out.